much to Olga for a fabulous presentation. I hope this one complements much more basic than Olga's presentation. I did want to speak tonight, or at least incorporate being vegetarian and vegan, but at the end of this presentation we'll talk about that, because I'd like to open that up to a discussion, because I really do feel that there's so much knowledge in this room, a lot more knowledge than I have about being vegetarian and vegan, and I've tried a few times. So we'll talk about that later. And the purpose of tonight, and yes, I'll stick to 20 minutes. I know I went well over my 30 minutes when I did my first talk. Oh, hang on a sec. Just, okay, I will stick to, okay. I even have an alarm clock. No, I don't want to dig in my bag. Out of time. Raz is going to dig for my alarm clock for me. Anyhow, Voltaire was a great historian, philosopher. He has it right. We put so much effort into treating disease and illness. And let's face it, the body wants to be in a state of homeostasis. If we look after our bodies, it will take care of itself 90% of the time. Okay, hold on. Raz? No. I'm gonna make it really obvious. No, I do move my hands, so you know what I'll do? I'll go click. Or I'll just do that, because that's what I usually do with the clicker. Not yet. Okay, there. Next one. Okay, now we're on slide. I think I jumped a slide, but don't worry about it, that's fine. No. So as a start to the talk, which is about nutrition and natural nutrition, I really want to, and I hope I can do it. I have to admit, I did the PowerPoint this afternoon. I hope it's not disjointed, but I really want to focus on nutrition, and not just the physical health effects, but the psychological health effects, because we are living in a day and age where it's no longer colds and flus that is being the #1 reason for people to miss work. It's for psychological reasons. We have a flourishing drug industry making a fortune on our mental health, and literally creating new diseases and new drugs, and new diseases and new drugs, and therefore having to market these new drugs by creating new diseases and getting new recipients of these drugs. So it's become an endless cycle, and pharmaceuticals are like banks. They just rake it in, and they keep going no matter what. So as the basis, most disease in this day and age is related to our diet. We have very acidic diets. Sugar, which seems to be the basic ingredient of most of our meals these days. People who follow a North American diet, you're eating white bread, even whole wheat bread, converts to sugar immediately in the body. All sorts of foods that convert to sugar and create a very high glycemic and acidic blood level. We're on this hypoglycemic roller coaster all day long. I think it was Raz who mentioned, if you start the morning with a piece of toast, you're gonna have sugar cravings all day long. It's very true. This sort of starchy food to start your day, when you should be starting it with raw greens to get all sorts of minerals, vitamins, electrolytes, and so on, and sea salt. Start with a little dash of sea salt and lots of water, and have protein first thing in the morning. Start with a piece of toast. You could be craving sugar all day long. Big favor if I can ask people in the back to keep their voices down, because I'm half ADD and I'm easily distracted. So thank you so much. Continue your chat, but just don't disturb those of us who are listening. Thank you. So most of our foods should be alkaline. Vegetables, all vegetables are alkaline. Eat those leafy greens. They are so good for you. All green vegetables, all colorful vegetables. We need these things. Cut out the cancer-causing acidic foods. The sugar, keep your grains, and we'll talk about this a bit more, limited. Meats should be, and of course you should be eating grass-fed meat or organic meat. Eat locally grown meat, know the source of it. If you're eating your typical steak from Superstore, you're eating meat that is practically toxic, full of hormones, full of antibiotics, grain-fed, low in essential fatty acids, and we'll touch on that a bit later. By the way, how many people were here for the last convergence? Okay, probably about a quarter of you. So I will be using a few of the PowerPoint slides from last day, but I won't be going into essential oils, but I'd be happy to redo that in the future. This is also the little note at the bottom is to remind me to talk about digestive enzymes for those of you who weren't here last time. Every nutrient you put in your body requires a specific digestive enzyme to break it down and allow your body to metabolize it. So we are all born with a big bank of digestive enzymes. How many of you have noticed that you have friends, or in your age group or older, who around mid-30s start to, gain a pot belly, start to lose their health, start to have health issues? Hands up if you know people like that. It seems to really start happening in the mid-30s, and it seems to get worse from there. One main reason, not only is it the acidic environment and the North American diet, and on we go, they've used up their digestive enzymes because they are not getting enough raw or natural food in their bodies. Digestive enzymes are only in raw food. This is why sushi is wonderful for you. Again, raw vegetables, eat them. Fruits, they give you digestive enzymes. You need that to digest all the food you're eating. Anything you eat that is not nutritious is anti-nutritious or an anti-nutrient. If your body doesn't have a digestive enzyme, or whatever, digestive enzymes to deal with it, it's going to create a close facsimile by going into your organs and bones and pulling out the calcium, magnesium, other minerals in order to create what it can in order to help that food get digested. So everybody wants homeostasis, so that's basically to be stable and healthy. Everybody really does want to be healthy and works towards it. The problem is most of us have numbed our bodies. We've been eating hamburgers, we've been drinking lots of milk, doing all sorts of things to our bodies since we were very young. Junk food, anti-nutrients, improperly ordered food makes it hard for our bodies to absorb nutrients and put the nutrients to work. We're numb to the symptoms and warnings our bodies provide us. One excellent book that was written back in the early 80s is called Eating Alive. I did a diploma in natural nutrition lesson a few years ago, and this is still a mainstay. It's a book that we use. And I tell you, in layman's terms, it's absolutely excellent for understanding what we're doing to our bodies and why it's so numb, why most of us are ignoring the symptoms that we get that let us know that something's wrong. If you'd listen to your body was in more of a state of homeostasis. And when I say you, I'm not speaking to you personally. I know there's a lot of knowledge here. And nobody here eats hamburgers. No, I'm just kidding. But anyhow, or trans fats, French fries, and so on. But the average person really is not eating very well. And of course, when we talk about health issues, it's not just food, but that is my focus here. So our North American population and European largely suffers from malnutrition or undernutrition. Even people who are eating the right nutrients aren't necessarily absorbing the nutrients that they're ingesting. And we'll talk about that in a few more moments. So, obesity, diabetes, depression, anxiety, cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, and on the modern inflammatory diseases go. And I touched upon inflammatory last time. When we eat a food that's anti-nutritive, or we're sensitive to, or allergic to, or not properly chewed and in a form to be digested, our bodies can and often do literally work against it. So our bodies can attack itself or food just like it would cancer cells. So we'll talk about that a bit more in a bit. Of course, stress is a huge factor, but we aren't getting into all of that today. Next. So I'm just jumping into what's happening with all these antipsychotic drugs, since it's now one of the world's biggest industries, rivaling Walmart and others. Pharmaceutical companies profit massively from drugs that often do more harm than good. Cases of mental illnesses are skyrocketing, as are the types of mental illnesses. So we keep coming up with new mental illnesses that are not scientifically diagnosed, based more on impression. I've taught in schools and watched the degeneration of children from year to year with more and more behavioral, cognitive issues. I've been in classrooms where most of the kids are on Ritalin for ADD or what have you, and notice the difference when they're on it and when they're off it, like night and day, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So it's quite insane as to what's going on. New illnesses require new drugs. Of course, these drugs need markets, and on the cycle goes, causing a vicious cycle of drug addictions and people going from drug to find the one that magically works. St. John's often works. Many other things will work, especially starting with decent nutrition, proper sleep, exercise, and so on. These drugs often are causing the illnesses they claim to treat. Each year, leading pharmacology companies like Eli Lilly and Pfizer claim record profits, over $20 billion per year on psych meds alone. So American psychosis is basically reaching or has reached pandemic levels. And mental illness is now the leading disability in the West. Another quote. In 2009, the leading factor in developing bipolarity is whether or not you have been prescribed a psychotropic drug in your medical history. This revelation aptly explains how bipolarity went from an obscure mental illness only a few decades ago, affecting 1 in 10,000, to one of the most increasingly diagnosed mental illnesses in America. And a Canadian stat for you, by the way, some of the stuff is from Adbusters. I love Adbusters, great news. The latest, and they do have a very good website. And it's really easy to find information there. So I just didn't have the time to go into actual studies, so I was using to get this together quite a bit from Adbusters. So in Canada, over the last 5 years, 43% increase in the rate of dispensing stimulant prescriptions for ADD and ADHD. And the sad truth is the top ADD, ADHD experts will tell you that nutrition does not affect the intensity or whether or not a child has ADD or ADHD. And there are plenty of studies out there now saying how even just essential fatty acids, particularly omega-3 oils alone, as every cell in your body needs those oils, especially for developing children, it's absolutely vital to have omega-3s and omega-6s. Every cell needs it. The brain can't live without it. So it's very sad to see all these experts saying that nutrition doesn't matter. It certainly does. Okay. So we'll talk very quickly about the real food groups. I know we talk about the Canada Health Food Guide. A lot of that isn't real food. It doesn't go into what sort of oils one should and shouldn't be eating. So if you go by the Canada Food Guide, you can ingest a lot of trans fats. Eat a lot of bread. Frankly, whether you're eating white bread, brown bread, any type of wheat bread, keep it very limited. Our wheat, and I know I mentioned this last time, but for those of you who weren't here, our wheat has 6 times more of the gluten than North American wheat. It is so highly processed. People who are wheat intolerant, even celiac, over here often go to Europe and find that they do fine with the wheat over there. Go ahead.
What about sourdough?
Just back up. Wonderful. Get the real natural sourdough. And then use a more ancient grain, flours and so on to add in. Or get wheat from outside of Canada and the United States. Protein should be a good 20 to 25% of what we eat via caloric intake. Good quality, again, if it's going to be meats, grass-fed, not grain-fed. If you're eating beans, and we all should, and the bean, rice, and so on, quantities or proportions for maximum protein, make sure you soak and sprout beans, grains, rice, and so on. That, first of all, gases off the stuff that's in the beans and so on that actually prevents you from ingesting the food properly, and will also inhibit vitamins like vitamin B from being ingested and utilized in your body. Quinoa is the only grain that is a full protein. Okay, it is excellent for you, but again with grains, don't overdo it. Our bodies have only been used to them for a few centuries. Our First Nations cultures in the north aren't used to them at all and don't do very well with them. Probably most Northern First Nations should avoid them. It takes a while for cultures or for bodies to get used to new foods. Go ahead.
Are you including fruits and vegetables in your complex carbohydrates?
Absolutely. Yeah, and again, mainly vegetables. Fruits are high sugar. And when you eat apples, eat the skin. When you eat potatoes, and be careful about the potatoes you get, make sure they're organic, local, etc. Eat the skins, because potatoes, apples without the skins are highly glycemic. They convert to sugar very rapidly. Any starch, like white rice, even brown rice, but certainly white rice, instantly into sugar in your body. Minimum 50%, many will say 70% of what you eat should be complex carbohydrates. Fat should be 25 to 30%, good quality fats. If anybody wants to talk to me later on about essential fatty acids, I'm happy to talk. Quick reminder, coconut oil is the best fat to cook with. It doesn't chemically change. It's extremely healthy for you. It's a brown fat. In other words, it helps you lose weight. It metabolizes into energy very quickly. It acts like a complex carbohydrate. Excellent for energy and many, many things. And again, every cell in your body needs it. Your plate should be garnished with a meat and not the other way around. So North Americans, half their plate is meat. In China, traditionally, if it was even there, it would be just a small little piece. And then have a plate full of vegetables, a bit of grain, and maybe a small piece of meat. So keep that in mind when you're eating. Improper digestion is the #1 cause of digestive ailment. We all munch our food quickly. We run around and we stuff ourselves. This is no good. This is very unhealthy. This leads even people who eat really well to not digest their food. It causes all sorts of things, issues in the gut, and it's something that none of us should be doing. We need to take our time eating to eat in order to digest our nutrients properly. We need to enjoy our food. We need to slow down. Digestion literally begins in the mouth. All starches, carbohydrates are literally start their digestion in the mouth. Anything you eat, chew well. And the digestive highway is eating in an efficient way so that you have literally a smooth digestion without traffic jams in the body. Again, most of us are eating tons of stuff at once, where bread and meat isn't a good combination. I don't know if we'll get a chance to talk about that. We don't want to be eating starches and proteins like meat at the same time, because it creates indigestion in the body. So eat efficiently and in an order to optimize nutritional intake. Juice and water, 20 to 30 minutes to go right through you. Eat it well ahead of a meal or 2 hours afterwards. Eat and drink. Same with fruits, which can be up to 90% water. Eat a good half hour prior to eating or 2 hours after. Non-starch vegetables take about half an hour to 3/4 of an hour to digest. And you can eat those with meat, no problem. Eat those with fruit, whenever. High-starch vegetables and grains, potatoes, avocado, eggplant, pasta, grains, take a good 2 to 3 hours. You don't want to eat them with protein, because that clogs up the digestive highway. Proteins take at least 3 hours. Fish is quicker, eggs are very quick. Meat takes over 3 hours. If you're eating a hamburger, you're eating, first of all, something that's very starchy, converts to sugar quickly in the bun. So your body wants to digest protein before it digests sugar. You're eating a hamburger, the body focuses on the meat, the sugar stays in the upper tract of your digestive system and starts to cause bloating, gassing, lack of mineral intake, and so on. Oh, we don't have time. Okay, cells need cholesterol and other fats. I'm not going to get into it. We can talk about good and bad cholesterol and all that, but every cell needs cholesterol. You do need cholesterol. Fats provide energy and organ protection and millions of other things. Every cell needs it. Just a quick reminder.
Must have EFAs, especially omega-3s. This is the membrane around each and every cell. And those membranes
Must have essential fats, and it is so important for brain development. One of the biggest problems of the reason we have, one major reason we have so many psychological behavioral issues now is North Americans do not get enough essential fatty acids. And plenty of tests show you give juvenile delinquents really good meals full of EFAs, and their behavior improves tremendously. Okay, omega-3s. Take your fish oil for EPA and DHA, it's wonderful. You can also do flax oil and other stuff, but the quickest way to get it is fish oil. Omega-6s, again, wonderful stuff. Evening primrose oil, borage oil. Just don't overdo the omega-6s in proportion to the omega-3s. You want to have, say, maximum of 4-to-1 omega-6 ratio to 1 omega-3. Okay, so foods we're allergic or sensitive to, which causes a lot of issues in people. People don't realize how allergic and sensitive they are to a lot of foods. Most people are probably highly sensitive to milk. A lot of people are allergic to milk. Many people have celiac disease, which is they can't tolerate gluten. 30 years ago, there weren't many of these illnesses around, and there was maybe one obese kid or a few obese kids in high school at the most. Nobody had heard of celiac disease. It barely existed back then, and there were people who were lactose intolerant, but not many. So avoid sugar, which is literally enemy number one. Wheat, dairy, factory farm meats. If your body heats up after you eat a certain nutrient, yes, thermogenesis happens, or your body will heat after food, but if you can feel your increased heartbeat and you start getting flushed, chances are you're sensitive or allergic to that food, and your body is getting inflamed and reacting against it. We're almost at the end. Okay, daily smoothie, every day. Do a smoothie. One of the best ways to start your day. Every day, every night when you sleep, your body's regenerating. Every cell, every tissue, what have you. You want to replenish your body first thing in the morning, preferably within 10 minutes of getting up, and on top of a smoothie, have protein. So, cup or so of fresh juice, nothing heated, nothing packaged or processed. It has to be nutritive. When you heat something, you kill the digestive enzymes, and with a lot of foods, kill the nutrition. So, half cup of fresh juice, half cup pure coconut water or coconut milk, pinch Celtic sea salt for electrolytes, wonderful stuff, not too much of it. Organic kale, spinach, or other leafy greens, 8 to 10 drops of trace minerals, or trace mineral drops, which has all sorts of wonderful minerals, calcium, chloride, iron, phosphorus, selenium, zinc, sulfur, and other stuff. Mix it up. If you don't like that, add a smoothie powder you like. I find most smoothies are sweetened with stevia, way too sweet. You can buy smoothie powders without sweetener. Careful of the ingredients, there's a lot of crap out there. Oh yeah, you can now buy pure coconut sweetener, which is a great sugar substitute. Xylitol is much less danger than regular sugar. Almost done. Okay, blah blah. Oh yeah, doesn't matter. Oh, rotate your foods. You really shouldn't be eating the same food every day. And optimally, eat that food every 4 days. But we shouldn't be eating the same thing every day. It creates allergens and sensitivities. The further removed from its natural state, the less your body knows what to do with anti-nutritive ingredients. leads to inflammation, root of modern disease, blah, 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 blah. So eat real food, exercise, sleep, meditate, develop spiritual awareness, walk in the woods, think, be connected, be part of your community, live healthy, feel alive. My quote, go ahead. Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, father of allopathic healthcare. What does he start with? Food. And he's back in the ancient Greek times. He also said that disease wasn't a punishment inflicted by the gods. All the Greeks were into gods. But rather the product of environmental factors of diet and living habits. Common sense does stuff. Okay, we're at the end of that. I would love to talk about vegetarian session, and I would love it to be a discussion at some other time. And so we'll talk veggie as a group. People who are on side with this, we'll work it out on Facebook. We can book a community center, have a potluck at my house. I know when I did my diploma, this sort of quote remains true. There are lots of people out there who are very healthy vegetarians and vegans. One thing to say, just don't consume sugar. That really undoes all the benefits of being vegetarian and vegan. And take supplements. We all need supplements anyhow because of the poor quality of our soils and meats and so on. And take a good multivitamin, take a good vitamin B complex every day, iron, probiotics, digestive enzymes. You can even get those in packages. Omega oils, especially omega-3. Okay, potluck tomorrow night at my house. I'm Carole Tootill, my husband's Larry Robinson. I would love to have you all. Here's the address. For those of you who take the bus. Oh, and now you're all happy. There's food involved. Good. So everybody brings something healthy. Big favor, I forgot to put my email address here, but here's my text. I just want to, actually, hands. How many of you think you can make a potluck tomorrow night? Just to get an idea. Okay, good. Well, there's a few of you, because if there's only going to be 2 or 3 people arrive, then I need to make more food, because this is a potluck, and I can make up for whatever isn't coming. So I will ask if you could just text me. Don't call me, because I have to pay by the minute. My email address is, or actually you can even put up on Facebook under the Evolver Zeitgeist. I'll put a message there, and you can respond to that. And if you don't respond, that doesn't mean you can't come tomorrow night. Just come. Important, if you're going by train, take the train south to Canyon Meadows.